Madoff's bail. In the meantime, Congress today held its first hearing into the Madoff case, questioning how regulators could have missed the alleged fraud. The hearing included one Madoff investor who says he's lost everything. One lawmaker said all 5 Securities and Exchange Commission members should resign, given what's taken place. Pennsylvania Democratic Congressman Kanjorski is the chairman of the House Financial Services Capital Markets Subcommittee. He presided over today's hearing and joins me on another Money in Politics exclusive. Mr. Chairman, thanks for the time. No, it was a long hearing for you, so we appreciate you taking time out to chat with us. What did you learn today?
Peter, I learned that this is quite a depthful scheme, and it's certainly understandable why so many people got taken if the allegations are correct. We're going to have to make sure that we arm our agencies with better methodologies to penetrate these types of potential frauds, and really look at how we make sure people don't get caught or swept up in these things in the future. Whether that's absolutely capable of being done to 100% is a real question. You really have had to hear the complex methodology by which this fraud was perpetrated, if in fact the allegations are true.
If the allegations are true, do you think it's fair to consider that the SEC could have missed this, or are you now more convinced regulators should have seen this sooner?
Oh, I think they should have had tests built into their system that would have tilted so that they'd know something was going on. They have, particularly with computer models today, that could have been tested. I think we're going to find out somebody was asleep at the switch. Whether that helps the people that were injured by the ultimate fraud, we don't know. But and we have some vacuums to fill and some holes to close. But certainly something went awry here and it shouldn't have happened.
It shouldn't have happened. And again, as I mentioned, some of your colleagues there in the committee calling for heads to roll at the SEC, whether it's commissioners or division heads. Have you reached your own conclusion as to whether someone should lose their job?
Not fully yet. I want to hear more of the testimony before I come to any final result as to what should happen. But we're going to do a case study setting off the Madoff situation as the base case study. That will help us as we think our way through reform of regulations. But I think it'll also help in the Madoff case because it's so depthful and so complicated.
So complicated. And we also heard today during the course of your hearing about what some of his alleged victims can expect to recover as a result of this, and basically the numbers don't add up, do they?
Not very much. Very, very small amounts because their losses are so large and the funds just won't be there. They're capped at a very relatively small amount of $500,000, and most of the people who lost funds here are in the multi-millions or billions of dollars.
Yeah, the SIPC, I know you heard from the head of the SIPC, SIPC, which handles that program that doles out the $500,000. Are you worried about SIPC given the liabilities here?
Well, I think it'll either tap out all of its funds or most of its funds, and we'll have to probably call upon the industry to contribute more to make it sustainable. But that's able to be done. Right now, I think we have to try and get through the effort of finding out who is entitled to some benefits and move this question as fast as we can, because after listening to this fraud or alleged fraud today, I imagine there are more out there that are doing the same thing. We just haven't heard about it.
What about changing the regulatory framework as a result of what you heard today? This was already a lot of talk about changing regulation even before we learned about Bernard Madoff's alleged fraud. What do you think needs to change at a minimum to prevent something like this from happening again?
Well, those are really the purposes for the hearing. We're going to find out what vacuums there are and what holes there are, and get an analysis. And then I'm very much interested in getting the academic community and others that don't necessarily have a dog in the race to help us out to judge what should be done.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, there were some suggestions today. I know some of your Republican colleagues suggesting maybe the rules on the books are fine. It's just that the SEC didn't use the tools at its disposal. For example, when he registered as an investment advisor, his firm should have been inspected in the first year. At least that's the normal protocol for the SEC. That wasn't done. Are the rules fine? It's simply a question of using them?
Well, it's either that or a problem of financing. You know, we don't know, because just about 5 years ago, the SEC was telling us they didn't need any more money. They didn't need more personnel. They were perfectly happy. Of course, that went along with the ideology of deregulation. Now that we've seen these disasters occur both in the marketplace and the credit crunch, and in this fraud case, we now know those judgments were bad judgments, and we're going to have to reverse that. So I think we have a lot of work to do to see how we can stiffen it up. It doesn't mean to make rules or make regulations to impede the market or to slow the operations. It means we just have to protect people and investors more than we are now.
There are some people out there suggesting that this is evidence that the SEC needs to go, needs to be replaced entirely or merged with the CFTC into an entirely new entity. Again, have you reached any conclusion on that front?
Haven't reached a conclusion, but I'm certainly amenable to looking at that possibility, and I want to examine what they're doing in the UK and the EU. Maybe they've got some better answers than we have in this country, but clearly we're going to have to do major reformation to our regulatory system.
You did not hear today from any of the current SEC commissioners. You did not hear from the SEC chairman, Christopher Cox, who triggered his own probe into what happened here at the SEC. Do you expect to have the opportunity to ask Chris Cox about this before he leaves, steps down as SEC chairman, assuming that happens after Barack Obama takes office?
Well, we were asked Mr. Cox to appear today. He wasn't available, and he was out of town. And in order, because we did this in very short circumstances and time, but I'm sure he'll try and cooperate with us, and we're going to be talking with him in the next several days to get a date in which he can appear.